an effort to save lives and livelihoods, and also to make sure there is a quick V-shaped economic recovery. And for that, the government has introduced several economic measures in the past, including the decision to avail about 15 billion birr to private banks, and also the decision to expedite the VAT refund process, and among other things. And today, what we are discussing is the announcement by the Council of Ministers, a set of economic measures that would support firms keep their employees and support firms to survive through this difficult time, and support our overall goal of saving lives and livelihoods and supporting the economic recovery. In that regard, broadly, the economic measures include one, cancellation of tax debts that are owed to Ministry of Revenue. There is a timeline for this. Tax that are due to audit findings between 1997 and 2007 Ethiopian calendar. The Council has decided to forego this debt altogether. But for those that are still in discussion, but timeline of 2008 to 2011 Ethiopian calendar, the decision is to cancel the interest and penalty, but to allow firms to pay their tax obligations in a scheduled time frame in about a year's time. The decision is firms can pay 25% of the tax obligation and pay the remaining 75% in installment basis during the course of a year. But if firms would like to pay the entire amount at one go, then they will be entitled to 10% reduction from the principal payment. And the other tax measures include measures that would support ongoing activities by firms to support their employees in keeping their jobs. So in that regard, two decisions that would be implemented by the regional states and by the city councils are one, to cancel a 1-year property tax, provided that firms can provide evidence that they have given relief for their tenants on 2 years rental payment, on 2 months rental payment. So for a firm that has given a break for its tenants for at least 2 months, then the government would allow them to not pay their 1-year property tax. And also the other set of measures relates to employment tax. As you know, generally employment tax is collected, salary tax is collected through regional states and city councils by and large. Again, this is also something that would be implemented by regional state and city councils, and the decision in this regard is to allow firms to withhold their 4 months salary tax, provided that they have been affected by the pandemic and they are not engaged in active economic activity, they are not gaining revenue, but they are expending by paying their employees their salaries properly. So if a firm is paying its employees his salary, but is not gaining income because of the coronavirus impact, then the government would allow that firm to withhold payment of income tax contributions for 4 months, so that they can use that to pay salaries. The other set of economic measures relate largely to encouraging SMEs to continue in economic activity. In this regard, the Development Bank of Ethiopia has been instructed to set up a special window that would disperse quickly loans to MSMEs. This is not the usual bureaucratic DB, but a special window would be opened at DB so that they can facilitate a working capital loan for MSMEs. Related with this, microfinance institutions provide a very important role in supporting small businesses. And in this regard, the Council has decided that the central bank provide additional liquidity to microfinance institutions so that they can avail credit to their borrowers. And the last one in this set of measures is for farmers' cooperatives to ensure there is a smooth supply chain that is fully intact, and that farmers are supplying their produce to the market, and that consumers in the urban areas are getting this produce on time. Farmers' cooperatives can play a very important role. To support that role, the government has decided to provide additional liquidity in terms of loans to these farmers' cooperatives in the tune of about 1.5 billion birr. The other measures relate to ongoing activities that needs to be done by the Ministry of Finance. These relate to customs tax obligations and also payment that are owed from privatized institutions. In this regard, the decision by the Council is for the Customs Commission to provide detailed study on customs duty tax obligation that the customs expects from its clients. And then again, in the spirit of the Homeland Revenue, there is a timeline for this. 1997-2007 largely falls under cancellation, but after 2018 Ethiopian calendar, it would be a principal payment and a cancellation of interest and penalties. But this is case by case. This will be reviewed on case by case basis based on the suggestions provided to Ministry of Finance by Customs Commission. And PIA, the Private Enterprise Holding Agency, would submit again requests to Ministry of Finance for cancellation of interest and penalty on firms that owe privatization proceeds. This again, the overall objective of these goals, these measures, is to support firms to weather this storm and continue operating and to ensure there is quick recovery when this pandemic is all over.
What do you think? I think one of the